I have a list. I printed it off because I've organized my thoughts and I know what I want to say. And it is very important to me to get this right for a couple of reasons. This is a very big topic. And people on the internet and in the world right now are really big a-holes. So I want to make sure that what I am saying is what I mean. And the easiest way for me to do that is to go a little bit slower in this video because no, I don't feel like I have the grace of misspeaking because I guarantee you it's going to get really ugly in the comments really fast, much the same way that it has over on my socials. So I have papers. I'm going to be pausing a lot. Just deal. I just want to share with you something that makes me feel better in these current crazy times. Okay? Welcome back to Making Everyday Magic. My name is Shauna. I'm a homeschooling family of 4. We have a 7th grader and a 3rd grader, girls. We are in Texas. We just moved to Houston from an outlying suburb. That is my demographic. We have homeschooled for 8 years. The reason that we chose to homeschool was not for any of the normal reasons that people choose to homeschool. We choose secular homeschooling, so we do not have religious affiliation or reliance on religion in our homeschool. And I do believe, because of the current political climate, that more people will be coming to this way of life. So welcome. Hi. I want you to know, regardless of how you choose to homeschool, this is a safe space and you have found friends. So please, everyone, be sure to keep that in mind down in the comments. Please. It is a safe space and you have found friends. These are a few things that give me peace in these insane times. We are raising the resistance. Before we go any further, please scroll down, hit the big red subscribe button, turn on the bell for notifications, and give this video a thumbs up. As always, you can find me right on down below or over on Instagram at Making Everyday Magic. If you already follow me on Instagram, you know that a very large majority of what I post on Instagram is, I don't feel like it's political, but the right word, the accepted word for this is political. I share a lot of things that ruffle a lot of feathers, especially if you're right-leaning or traditional homeschool demographic over on Instagram, which may not be for you. So, full warning, if that is not for you, don't go over there. If you want strictly homeschool content, this is not the place for you. If you do not want to hear my opinion on things, again, you come to the wrong place. I am very vocal about a great many things, and politics, the world, current climate is one of them, or a few of them. This is my platform. This is what I have. This is my bra to burn. So welcome. If this isn't for you, I understand. But I do want you to know that it is a safe space, and I 100% of the time genuinely try to be kind, even if we have a difference of views, outlooks, backgrounds. However, that doesn't mean that I tolerate those views. I'm not going to be, I don't want to look you in the face and say, oh, well, you know, same difference. Because it's not. I feel like these are really big things. And I feel like it is not the time where we can continue being quiet in the many aspects that are happening in the world. So let's start. And yes, 4 minutes into this video, we're going to start. Let's start with clearing the air. I firmly believe that parenting is a radical act. Parenting is political. Parenting is a radical act of defiance in the sense that you are saying the genetic material that you can bring into the world the human that you can raise is not only going to be a part of this world, but that, as every parent believes, and I'm certain that we do, that they will change it, that they will impact it, and that they will make it a better place. Parenting is a wildly radical event, stance, take. Parenting is political, and so is homeschool. Homeschool is a very wild, radical take to take what we've been taught for the last 100 years, that this is the norm and this is why, and we've paid and trained professionals, and to say no, you cannot take my children, despite it being for free, and educate them for 8 hours a day when I don't have to have them. In many cases, I don't have to feed them. I don't have to do anything. I can trust that you've got it. To take all of that and say, I'm so sorry, but that's not good enough. To take that, especially like for myself, I'm not an educator. I don't know what I'm doing. To take all of that and just burn it. Say no, thank you. That's not for me. We are teaching, as parents and as homeschoolers, we are teaching our children how to society. The whole bit of it. We are teaching them how to be citizens. We are teaching them how to be mothers and fathers and friends and adults and teenagers and preschoolers. We are teaching them how to human, how to be pet owners, how to be chefs, how to be seamstresses, how to be performing artists, how to be scientists, how to be zoologists. We are teaching them how to do it all. All of the things that we are doing. We are teaching them how to do politics. We are teaching them how to decide what they will and will not tolerate for themselves, for others, in the world, in society, and from politicians. I know that I am the odd man out. In our home, we tend to practice what I like to call wild acceptance. So anything that my children have entertained the thought about, we go probably 5 feet deeper than they would care to know. Every time that my kids have a question, again, I probably go 5 feet deeper than they would want to know. Anytime something happens, that they see something they don't understand, we have the conversation. We don't just have the conversation, we go deeper. So every time my kids ask a question about being a parent, we often will stress, you might choose to become a parent, you might not. You might choose to get married and you might not. Like, these are things that are up to you. You might choose to marry a man and you might not. You might choose to marry a woman and you might not. These are things that, as our parenting style, somehow we have fallen into wild acceptance. And I personally am not sad. There is not an ounce of me that will ever have to question if my children know that they are loved and if my children know that we are a safe space. There has never been a thing that I'm like, oh my gosh, you will never do that. I genuinely can't think of a single thing where I would, now don't get me wrong, I will hold them to the, if you're a murderer, you need to go to jail for that, but mommy's still gonna love you. I'm not saying it's okay, but I am saying there's not a tattoo, there's not a piercing, there is not a career choice. There's just not a lot of things where I'm not going to accept their choices for them, because that's a life they have to live that it just doesn't involve me, to be absolutely honest with you. We are the parents that are always saying the extra bit. We are the parents that are always saying the asterisk. We are always saying the fine print. Like, yes, you don't have to get married to have a baby. Marriage is a social construct and having a baby is a biological function. We say these things to our young girls, but I do always stress to them that parenting is hard and I don't recommend doing it alone, and mommy and daddy are not your co-parent. So we do stress that bit. We just don't ever want them to not feel loved and accepted. And there is never, who they love will never ever be any amount of blockage to my love for them. That is not a thing that will ever happen. I am a huge believer. You guys know, if you follow for any period of time, I do actually have a very personal faith. I just don't feel like that has a role in my homeschool. So we do have personal faith. And I am a very, very big believer in some sort, call it God, call it the universe, call it cosmic intervention. I am a very big believer that there is something else whatever it is that will impact you in your life. So for me, when I realize that I keep encountering the same thing over and over and over again, I recognize that that is a lesson meant for me to learn that I just haven't learned fully yet. Because of this belief, I know that the world needs what each and every one of us uniquely can bring to the table. And this is a comforting thought for me. Now, don't worry, my kids know this, but when we decided that we wanted to have, actually, let me go back further, and my husband knows this too. I never wanted to get married. I never wanted to have kids. I never wanted to change my name. I did not want to have girls because I'm not particularly girly and I wouldn't know what to do with them. And I certainly, absolutely under no circumstances wanted to have 2 girls. We chose to not find out the gender of our children. And guess what? Boom, 2 girls. And there was a very, very tiny piece of me who was sad because that's just not what I wanted. I didn't think I could do it justice. I didn't think I could do a very good job. Now, I would not change it for the absolute world. The universe, God, whatever, knew exactly what they were doing for me because I would not change it for the world. But I had a thought, and this is the thought that we're going to build this video around. The world will need the women that I raise. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but my unique perspective to womanhood, to parenthood, to life, bringing that to my daughters. The world will need the women that will come from that. When I think about this, it helps me to know that I am exactly where I am meant to be. Right here, in the right now, with the tools I have, doing the things I am doing. And that brings me into this next bit. I recently had coffee with a friend. And it's really easy if you are doom scrolling, it is very easy to get very down in the dumps and negative about all of the insanity that is currently going on in the United States political system, in the presidential office, in the world. It is very easy to get negative and to feel like we just aren't in a place that is good. The friend and I had the conversation. She said that she feels bad because our parents left us a better world than they had, and that we are not leaving the world better for our kids. I don't think that's the case. And this is what I hope you take out of this video. I genuinely don't think that's the case. I think we are the generation that is uniquely poised, prepared, and made for this day, for this time, in this insanity, to change the world. I have always said that you cannot tell people to do things differently. You could not tell our grandparents and their parents before them that they just needed to integrate, that they just needed to look at African Americans, Black people, people of color, just like anybody else. You can't tell people to do that. It just doesn't work that way. You just have to raise the next generation to not believe any different. Now, I like to think our parents did a pretty good job with that, right? Most of our parents went to school in post-segregation times. I don't know about you, but my grandparents, well-meaning, by no means a negatively racist bone in their body, but they still often would feel the need to tell me what color people were in their stories. My parents don't do that. They're doing a little better. You and I, very unlikely, at least I don't, at least not people I know, do we look at a homosexual person and just think that, yep, they definitely have AIDS. We don't look at people of color and think of them as less than, as other. I don't. I genuinely don't. And I know for a fact my children do even less. They absolutely do. And I have a few little anecdotes to share with you in just a moment. But in continuing on the vein that this is our job, this is our time to change the world. And the way that we are going to do it is we are going to change those little people. We're going to raise them up in the way that makes the world a better place. Firmly believe it is our job to be here right now doing these things. And I think it is our job to remove the policies. It is our job to end DEI. It is our job to end marriage equality. And do you know why? Because I think it is our job to show to the world, to the next generation, to everyone, that those bits of policies, those bits of rules, those bits of legislation that force that on to people are not needed. That we are in a time where we don't look at people differently. That we are in a time where we don't even second guess that people should be able to marry who they want to. Where we are in a time that we recognize that anyone who isn't a fully functional white man is just as good as a fully functional white man. We look at everybody the same. We do not automatically think that the white man is better. We don't automatically think that the women are more emotional. We don't automatically think, and I am not even kidding, this was a real thing, that the brain sizes of African Americans is literally smaller and therefore they are less capable than whites. Did you know that was a thing? I believe it is us. We are the resistance. We are raising the resistance. We are the people who are going to point out that it was not states' rights. It was slavery. It was not Texans fight for independence. It was slavery. And yes, I recently learned that. I am saying, yes, we're perfectly poised for this right time. We have been through all kinds of shenanigans. We have been through all kinds of insanity. And while our parents' generation and our grandparents' generation got those things on the books that said you could not discriminate against people based on these things, we will be the generation that doesn't discriminate based on these things. We are creating the world where humans will not need to be told to do the right thing, because doing the wrong thing won't have crossed their minds. Now, I do have a few anecdotes to share with you, okay? Because I'm sure, like your kids, like my kid doesn't care who they play sports with. Is it a boy? Is it a girl? They do not care. My kids have never once looked at somebody in the bathroom and been like, why are they in here? That's not a thing that happens, okay? My kids don't care who marries who. My kids don't care that their niece has two dads. And I know this for a fact, and I'm gonna explain why in just a minute. My kids don't care what color other people are. I've not gotten those questions, minus one time. One time, recently, my child did ask me about the color of someone's skin. And then we came home, we had a discussion in the moment. We came home and we learned a lot more about vitiligo. That was her question, okay? I feel like that's honestly fair, and we did a lot of research and studying on it, and then it became, do you know what it became when you're provided with more knowledge, more information, and more? Do you know what happens when you have more? When you do the asterisk, when you say the fine print, when you go 5 feet further than your kids want you to? Non-issue. It becomes a non-issue. Now, like I said, my sweet, adorable child was hanging out with her uncle one day. And they were with his surrogate. And she looked at him and she said, let me get this straight. She was very young, like preschool. And she said, you and him are having a baby. And the baby is over there in her. And he said, yes. And his face got hot and he started stressing out and he was running through all the options in his mind because he was like, I'm going to have to tell Shauna that I am having this whole conversation with her child and I don't know how to do this and I don't know what to do. And this was their first child, so he didn't know how easy it is to just not give too much information. And so he's like panicking and panicking and panicking. And he was just like, yes. And he waited. And she said, so you're married to him? And he waited, sweating. And he said, yes. And she said, so he's like your prince? And he said, that's exactly right. And she said, cool. And that was it. So I can proudly say to you, that child, that's all it is. Who's your prince? Who's your princess? Move it along. It really is that simple. We had another thing I do want to share with you about differences and addressing them in the moment and not making it something it doesn't need to be. We were at a water park. I was with my oldest alone. She was very young. And we saw a gentleman with a prosthetic leg at the water park. Now, she started asking questions. And I said, in my mom brain, I said, we can give information or we can get information from the source. And I have to be honest with you, in the moment, I said he's probably some level of comfortable if he has his prosthetic leg at the water park. And so I walked up and I was like, hi, I am so sorry to bother you, but my daughter has a couple of questions about your leg. And he took off his leg and he showed it to her and he said, what would you like to know? And she was just like, that's cool, and walked off. That's it. It's that easy. Don't make it harder than it has to be. Don't make it a thing it's a not. Don't put your weirdness on it where it doesn't belong. I do not want you to get down in these times. We are the resistance. We are raising the resistance, and we are changing the world. One tiny little magnificent learner at a time. Do not give up. They want you to give up. Imagine what this world could be like if we were just living with people who were raised to think that everybody's everybody and everybody's got a right to be them. Amazing. Absolutely amazing. So guys, please, please don't give up. Now, I did recently take my girls to a protest. And I just want to, if you are planning involvement in ways like that, I did just want to have just a little bit of some pointers that made me feel safer. One, we were able to walk. But even if we didn't, I probably would have parked a little further away. So just a heads up there. I made sure that my kids know contact information. I made sure that they had waters and a snack because I'm a mom. I made sure that my kids had contact information for multiple adults that we know on a Post-it physically and on their person. I made sure that we designated from where we were 2 different meeting locations about a half a block away if we got separated. I made sure, because one, I don't expect anything to go wrong, but I'm also not naive and know that things can go wrong and things can go wrong really quickly, and I would rather be prepared. So we had a plan. We had multiple meeting locations. I stressed to my children, if we get separated, the most important thing for you two to do is stay together. If not, we will meet at this location or we will meet at this location. I also made them fully aware that this was a really big deal. If there was anything that made them feel uncomfortable, we could leave at any point. I sent pictures to both their dad and my dad of what we were all wearing, told them where we were going, and gave them play-by-plays on where and when we were, just in case. I made sure that we had our health insurance card and I had identification on my person. We had a wonderful time. We did not get up in the throngs of people because that just makes me feel unsafe. Anyways, that's just too many people. We stayed on the edge. Once we got there, we identified where the police officers were, who was helpful, where our meeting locations were, and I constantly checked in to make sure they felt comfortable with where we were, with what we were doing, and their surroundings. So I am just going to say we had a great day. Nothing went sideways at all. They had a wonderful experience, and I was really glad that we went. We also did not carry signs. 1, I didn't make them, and 2, I just feel like it's another added level. We could just walk away. To make me feel better. But I did notice Houston was very prepared. They had blocked off the steps of City Hall with like barricades so you couldn't get up there, but also it was a holiday so no one was there. There were bike police, cop police, walking police, and also unmarked police because I realized next to me the person had like an earbud but was like plain clothes. Everybody was kind, everybody was friendly. There were tons of kids out there, which was kind of unexpected. There was a woman dressed as a suffragette. The pictures were awesome because the signs, oh my gosh, the signs are so funny. It was a really, really good experience. And it was really important to me to do that, to show my kids that there's not a lot that you can do. But what you can do is get loud. And that, I tell them that all the time. If anybody ever threatens you, if you ever feel unsafe in any situation, the absolute best thing you can do is get really loud. Scream. Become annoying. It is the best thing that you can do. Never, never, never lose your voice. And I am proud of the way we handled that. I was so proud of the way they took it. And we had a really wonderful day and experience. Now, to circle back. This may not be for you, and that's okay. Peace out. Best of luck. It might be for you. Awesome. You might be here for homeschool content. Gloss over these things you don't want to see. It's available to you. I can't police what you're doing. But it really is at the point where we all decide which side we're on. We all decide what we'll tolerate, okay? And yes, there are some extreme things going on. And there are things that sound really, really crazy, couldn't possibly be true, that I really do fear are, will be, and will come to be. So again, you have to decide where you are. And let me just plead with you, if you have sons, please teach them to be good men. If you have daughters, please teach them they don't need a man. It's a weird world. I hope that we can survive it. But at the end of the day, when I am old and when I am on my deathbed, I will be very proud of the things I did, the things I said, and the fact that I have stayed true to my beliefs. I didn't bend, and I won't. So yeah, this was off topic. It was a little different. For those of you who stayed to the end, good job. I hope that you found any of this helpful, entertaining, or informative. If you didn't, it wasn't for you. Scroll down, hit the big red subscribe button, turn on the bell for notifications, give this video a thumbs up, go follow some protest movements, 50501 movement over on Instagram and I think all platforms. There's a lot of economic blackouts coming up. Do what you can with what you have where you are. Together, we're gonna change the world. Bye guys.